turn it off to say goodbye to leaving quiet radio.
Since its debut exactly 10 years ago, Viagra has launched a new kind of sexual revolution, quickly becoming one of the most sought-after drugs in history. The little blue pill changed the pharmaceutical industry from how drugs could be marketed to the types of drugs put into development, as well as the cultural changes at large as well. Impotency is no longer an embarrassing male secret. Now it's called erectile dysfunction and is simply something to ask your doctor about. And more than 16 million men have done so. What about the women, though? We're now going to look at the quest for the female version of Viagra, and one company says it is in the lead. Joining me now, Stephen Symes, CEO of Biosante Pharmaceuticals. Welcome to Happy Hour.
Thank you, Rebecca.
So this is definitely a very important question to a lot of women, because as I was trying to do the research on this, there is a good percentage of the female population out there that suffer from some type of sexual dysfunction.
Well, that's right, Rebecca. In fact, numbers published in medical journals would indicate that as many as 43% of women report suffering from sexual dysfunction.
And now, is it actual physical problems? You know, for example, if women have had a hysterectomy and they've had their ovaries removed, which affects your hormonal balance, or is it also the lack of desire that could be something psychological?
Well, there's a whole variation, and women, as you know, are a little bit more complicated than men. In men, it's usually a mechanical issue. In women, there are many different issues. But you mentioned surgical menopause, removal of the ovaries. That's probably the biggest reason, because last week, this young, healthy woman was feeling fine. Her sexual desire was fine. Next week, with the ovaries removed, her testosterone levels go down, and she's not feeling so fine.
And Stephen, that's an interesting thing also reading about this as well, is it's linked to low testosterone levels in women, where some people may think, hey, I thought that was in men, but it's also in women and responsible for their sexual desires and function.
Right. We often call testosterone a male hormone. Turns out, many people don't know, that women actually have more testosterone in their blood than estrogen.
Wow. Okay, and so now your company, Biosante, where are you guys based?
We're northwest of Chicago.
Okay, and you are in the process of doing clinical trials, is that correct, on Libigel?
That's correct. Actually, we call it Libigel.
Libigel.
And it's a testosterone gel put on the upper arm, a once-daily application, and we've shown in clinical trials to date that we can increase satisfying sexual events by 238% versus the baseline.
238%?
Right.
Wow. So how close are you to potentially presenting this to an FDA panel, advisory panel, and getting potential approval?
Well, today we're in several phase 3 clinical trials. As you probably know, phase 3 is the last phase before going to the FDA. We would hope that we can file a new drug application, an NDA, in 2010.
And now looking at the biz side of this, you know, there's a lot of buzz about your company and saying that, you know, if you do in fact get FDA approval, this would be the first and only FDA-approved treatment for female sexual dysfunction. And also a lot of insider buying of your stock. The executives and directors are buying their own stock, which tells the market there's a lot of confidence in the company.
Well, that's right. We're very enthusiastic about the possibilities. As you point out, there is no pharmaceutical product approved in the U.S. for women, and men have several choices. We think that the market for women is actually bigger than the erectile dysfunction market is for men.
So I read something like $2 to $4 billion market.
$2 to $4 billion. And so we're thinking and forecasting that we think that Libigel can be a $1 billion product, which in our industry is called a blockbuster.
Now, that's if you get it approved by the FDA.
Absolutely.
But there are also other things, because, you know, your company being a smaller stock, it was 4 and change, the last that I checked, listed on the NASDAQ. Like you rang the closing bell today.
We sure did.
It's risky for people to buy stocks and invest in biopharmaceutical companies such as yourself.
Well, I think market activity would tell us that all stocks are risky.
Well, granted.
In terms of Biosante, I think that we're undervalued, as many CEOs might say, but the upside here is dramatic. And I should add that we, in fact, in the last year, have already received our first FDA approval for our estrogen gel, similar to Libigel, for the treatment of hot flashes in menopausal women.
Elestrin, is that one?
Elestrin.
Elestrin.
And so we have proven, at least to ourselves, and we hope to Wall Street, and to the FDA at least, that we know how to develop a drug, and we hope to do it again with Libigel.
Stephen Symes, good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.
We'll keep updated on this one.
Thank you.
All right. Well, so is Libby Gel the only option for women or a real option at all? Joining us now, Dr. Keith Abloh. Welcome to Happy Hour. I was so psyched to see that you were coming to visit. Last time we saw each other, we were on the live desk with Martha McCallum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over there on our sister network, Fox News Channel. So what do you make of this potentially a treatment for female sexual dysfunction?
Well, it's potentially a giant step, because the bottom line is that there are a lot of women who have suffered silently with low sexual desire. This can transform them potentially. And I think we've arrived at a moment culturally where women are ready to say, hey, I'm going to raise my hand. I want to be more satisfied. This is a problem for me. So I think in the way that Viagra transformed in some ways sexuality for men who were ready to have that behavior change, I think this can do it for women.
I know. I mean, well, if you see Bob Dole, former senator, presidential candidate, doing erectile dysfunction commercials, it's taking this out of the closet. And as you say, for women, this will be next. How much is all of this psychological? If you're a perfectly healthy woman but still don't have a lack of, you have a lack of sexual desire, is it up here, and can this drug really make a difference?
Well, it's very clear that these medicines won't be for, women who suffer with low libido because they're depressed. It won't be for women who suffer with that for other medical reasons. It's specific to women who have low sexual desire as an isolated event that affects their relationships and that they find unacceptable. So in those women, sure, there can be a real psychological basis, but there's often a physiological basis. This could address both, like a kind of final pathway.
Right. And the key, too, as you mentioned, is that women have to feel comfortable enough to go and talk to their doctors about it, talk to their psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, what have you, because, I mean, I always say the two biggest problems in a relationship, you either fight about sex or you'll fight about money.
Well, and as a psychiatrist on the front lines, I can tell you that that's true. You could join my practice. But you know what? It's also important, this will be in the eyes of the beholder. Who raises her hand and says, listen, I think my level of activity represents a disorder. It really depends what your baseline expectation is for satisfying sexual events. This medicine supposedly increases them by 238%.
Which is incredible.
Which is incredible, and really you have to start from that starting point where who's the arbiter of what represents a normal or sufficient sexual satisfaction index.
And I think that they were as they were doing the studies, Biosante, it was the woman's personal judgment.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that would definitely vary. But as you say, they need a spokesperson to, be out like a Bob Dole. They need a female Bob Dole who will take it out of the closet.
And there will be those people. And you know what? I think the American female public is ready for that. It'll just be another journey toward a kind of gender equality, and it will do away with stereotypes that much more.
Dr. Keith Abloh, thanks so much for joining us for Happy Hour.
Always.
Come
I'm
back,
glad
please.
to be in your shop here.
All right. On tap next, we will have an update on the markets and answer some viewer emails. Come back. We're here on Happy Hour.